I'm FOX54's Gabe Glassman here with a special guest today. We have Alabama Attorney General Steve Marshall in our studios today. Mr. Marshall, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today.
Good to be here.
I want to start because you've been very busy, obviously being the Attorney General of the state, but also you're on the campaign trail, running for the Senate seat. How is that going for you?
No, it's been really good. We've been super excited about the way we've been received across the state, but I'm no stranger to Alabamians, almost now 9 years as Alabama's Attorney General, but really blessed to have received the endorsement of 50 DAs and sheriff across the state, ABC, which is our contracting group from across Alabama, and then most recently with the endorsement from Alabama's farmers. So excited about the momentum. Long way to go, but we're working really hard to earn Alabama's trust.
What made you want to run for the Senate seat in the first place?
Yeah, I didn't want to run for governor. I had sort of shut that down, thought that I was really done by the time AG would be finished with Alabama politics, but yet the only job that would have interested me and now has become open is when Coach Tuberville decided to run for governor. And so there is a passion to be able to continue to serve. That's a job that I really see I have an opportunity based on what I've done as Attorney General. The issues that we've been engaged with have direct overlap with what you do in the United States Senate. And so excited with the job and excited about the opportunity to serve.
For you, if you were elected to serve, what do you think you can provide Alabama residents with in that position?
Yeah, I think they can look at my record as Attorney General to know that we've taken on the tough issues, but we've also been able to deliver tangible, strong results to our state. And look, we need to make sure that we're defending Alabama's farmers. We need to be able to stand up for what we're doing for our veterans and for our military and those that support the warfighter. And then broadly, we need to make sure that we have a voice for Alabama's families. Let's get the federal government out of the pocketbooks of Alabamians, allow them to be able to have small businesses that thrive in ways that the federal government allows the states to operate in the way it's designed to do, is to exercise the majority of the authority in their states and what's best interest of those that they serve.
I want to talk about the federal government, the United States government. We're still in shutdown as of this moment. How does a shutdown at the United States level affect an Attorney General's office?
Yeah, not directly affecting us at all. In that we obviously have a job to do, have a mission to be able to fulfill, not contingent on anything that's going on directly with the federal government. I think the thing for me is from a law enforcement perspective, to make sure that we have the tools, the resources, and the individuals that are out there working to help deal with crime in our streets. And so to the extent the shutdown is impeding that, then that would be an impact that we would see. But beyond that, nothing directly impacting us.
What are your thoughts on the government shutdown as a whole with everything you're seeing in D.C.?
I think Democrats need to quit playing politics right now with the federal government and understand there's value in being able to reopen the government to allow for Congress to finally get and address a budget for us in our nation. And to the extent that Democrats have issues they want to be able to talk about, use the forum that Congress allows to have those negotiations and talk with their colleagues across the aisle.
I want to switch things back, bring everything back to in-state. The big news coming out of Montgomery this past weekend was that shooting, which injured so many people. What were your initial reactions when you saw everything breaking down there?
Yeah, shocked and saddened. I mean, we've worked very hard to try to supplement what was going on in our capital city through a task force that frankly has been eminently successful, that in less than 170 days they have served, I think, over 1,000 warrants now, including those outstanding for capital murder, and robberies. We've had now almost 500 arrests taken off illegal drugs, illegal guns off our streets, but yet we need Montgomery to be able to step up and show leadership in this area as well. The city, it's clearly down in its workforce, kind of the results of the efforts to defund the police narrative that we've seen across the country and those that don't support the work that law enforcement does. We got to have the city itself find ways to be able to rebuild the men and women who have agreed to be able to protect and serve, and then they need to stand behind them and allow them to be able to do their jobs. But appreciate the fact that Governor Ivey is allowing for Aaliyah to have enhanced patrols around downtown, but there's still much work that needs to be done.
It's such a, especially since it happened downtown, it's such a crazy scenario. But, how important is it that, the state works with local law enforcement and just kind of making sure you're protected and making sure that moving forward that you can prevent something like that happening in the future?
Well, especially in Montgomery, because it's our capital city. And to the extent that people want to talk about our state from outside the state, no different than you heard President Trump talk about Washington, D.C. That's what people think about in Alabama, and that is kind of what's going on in our capital city. And so when news goes out, like it did from this weekend, it doesn't reflect just on that local community, but it also paints Alabama very broadly with many as well. And so I think you've seen us be proactive already. We've been able to deliver results. But again, the city of Montgomery's got to step up as well. And they have work to do, but I appreciate Governor Ivey's announcement this week. We'll continue to be engaged from our end to be able to support and provide whatever resources we can to be able to assist public safety in that community.
How does the Attorney General's office get involved in that?
Yeah, here we said we have to. You know, I was hearing from constituents that said, I just don't feel safe in the city of Montgomery. Look, I live there too, so it's my home also. And this is not a red-blue issue. This shouldn't be conservative-liberal. Everybody has the right to live in a community in which they feel safe. And you know, one of the tangible ways in which I know we've been able to make a difference compared to where we started is getting a call from a woman that's lived in Montgomery her whole life who said, hey, I'm finally feeling safe to go out on my front porch again at night. And that was good to be able to hear, knowing that these folks were being able to make a difference. But the reality is that while we have resources, it's not like what the city can be able to do in the numbers of law enforcement that need to be on their streets. And so we are supplementing, we are not supplanting in any way, and we need the city to be able to take ownership of their criminal justice problem, find ways to provide more law enforcement on the streets. Because if you look at the themes around the country, Portland, Washington, D.C., Chicago, even Birmingham and Montgomery, what's that common theme? The lack of numbers of law enforcement right now that are working there. And again, there's lots of reasons for that, far beyond the time in this interview for us to be able to discuss. But there's got to be a way to be able to refill those ranks.
Mm-hmm. I want to bring things for our last topic to a little bit more locally. At the time we're filming this interview, yesterday, the Madison County District Attorney's Office kind of brought out the news that there were going to be no criminal charges in the case of the Deschler High School student, August Borden. We understand that originally the case was under Tuscumbia PD, but it was transferred to Franklin County and in the Madison County District Attorney's Office. What was your involvement in kind of transferring that? Yeah,
anytime there is a recusal of a local DA, we actually have to sort of ministerially sign a document that allows for another individual who is not of that jurisdiction to be able to handle the prosecution. You know, I've been a DA for a long time in my life. I would go to other counties and handle cases for other circuits when there's a conflict. Here, the DA had a conflict that he made us aware of, said that the Madison County DA would be glad to handle it, and so we allowed that to be able to take place. And Rob Broussard has been working at this job for a long time, and is somebody I have a lot of faith in.
So just to be clear, it was Culver County that had a conflict of interest in this case.
Exactly.
And basically they came to you and they said, we would like it to be transferred over to Madison County DA, Franklin County, to make sure they're not, getting any conflict of interest involved in this case.
Exactly, or to find somebody who does not have a similar conflict, is the way I would say it.
For someone that may not, be involved in the investigations yourself, how important is it that you guys get it right, make sure that there is no conflict of interest, make sure that you guys are getting a fair investigation and a full investigation at that state?
I think it's just fundamental to the criminal justice system, right? You don't want the bias to be able to exist. And look, every DA is going to have some conflict at some point in time in their career, whether it be from relationships they've had, whether it be some other connection they have to a case that otherwise doesn't allow them to be unbiased. That nobody can challenge that with regard to how the case proceeds, or for them to feel comfortable in how they have an opportunity to be able to review. So it's not unusual by any stretch of the imagination that we have conflicts that occur, and we're grateful for the fact that local DAs are willing to take on cases when those situations happen.
I have no other questions for you. Is there anything else you want to add today that I have not mentioned already?
I think that's it.
All right. Well, Attorney General Marshall, thank you so much for joining us again. Hey, you can check out this full interview on FOX54 Plus.